2. Hello, people, party people. Welcome to Faux Pods with Lola. Welcome back if you're coming back. And it's good to see you. And thank you for being here. Numero dos. Drag education that I decided to give myself. I realized last video I had raised some questions or just had some misconceptions in my mind, and that's what started all of this. I am going to pick back up with all of that. Just to clarify, what I said about Drag Race, it's like The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is iconic and groundbreaking, and it's one of the seminal movies of our film history. But it also really abused the shit out of Judy Garland. Yes, there are iconic, amazing things in that movie. Yes, she is an iconic performer. I just feel like because I know that she suffered so much behind the scenes, it just changes the way that I see the actual movie itself. Is Somewhere Over the Rainbow one of the most amazing, heart-wrenching, amazing, brings tears to your eyes no matter how old you are songs? Indeed. There is always something good that comes out of negative. So that's just kind of how I feel about Drag Race. I've seen behind the curtain with a lot of stuff. So that's all I meant by that. It's an amazing platform. I don't ever want anyone to think that I do not support the artists. Queens themselves are just phenomenal. There's a queen for everybody. I heard Laganja Estranja say that. I really believe that. You know, I believe that just because I'm not a huge fan of a certain queen or a certain style doesn't mean that it's not amazing. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have a legion of fans behind it. And it's the same with Drag Race. So, and then also like my last video was a little heavy. I had to cycle through that kind of stuff to get to like the top layer, which is glitzy and fun and humorous and performance and all that stuff. But there's such a deep underneath all of that. I've been researching both of those. I've been watching some amazing, inspiring, glamorous, fun, goofy, lighthearted things, and I've also been watching things that have ripped my heart out. It's important to know where things come from. I had said in my last video that I had a misconception that drag was elitist. Do I still feel that way? Absolutely not. That is not the term for it. The term would be cautious and protective. And the drag community has absolutely every right to be cautious and protective of fellow queens, of the art itself. From the get-go, it's been ripped to shreds and degraded and spit on, and then everyone involved was made to feel shame about it. There really aren't words for that type of, like, there just aren't words for the way that makes me feel. So I can't even imagine what the people going through it must have felt. At times, to see the end result where everybody doesn't even have to think about things like that when they go outside in full drag, or when they wear eyeliner to school, or when I see the strides being made. And I feel like this is true for older queer people. It's a very political thing. It's a counterculture thing. Drag is a live wire. Drag is free. Drag is a fire lit under your ass to change the world, to change your immediate environment. That comes from years and hours and minutes spent being repressed, being told no, being shamed, being treated horribly. So out the other side, they transmuted that. I believe that every drag performer, every queer person, the more the merrier, as long as you are respectful and you understand and you come from a place of truth and honesty and heart and integrity. And that takes many forms and takes many shapes for good reason, because it's taken a long time to get to where we are now, and we're still not anywhere near where it needs to be, in my opinion. Do I feel like drag queens are angry? Yeah, and they have every right to be. Do I feel like they're angry 24/7? No. The times that I have seen that rebellious push from any queen, I applaud it and I respect it. It's part of the spirit of drag. My third thing was, do I feel like it's men taking over the woman space, whatever that is? I don't think so. I think queer people of a fun, creative nature, celebrating gender, bending of gender, play and flipping and flaunting and of all gender on all of the spectrums at all times, at all places. So I don't think that men taking over a woman's space at all. And the people who think that, I think, are just coming from a place of not understanding. I brought up before William Dorsey Swan and her struggle and how that no one knows about that. One of the reasons why my last video was kind of heavy is that I didn't want to misspeak because I am not a person of color. I have Athabascan heritage, which is Alaska Native. I have, I think, ancestral knowledge of what that could have been like. I have a deep knowing of that feeling. I do not look, however, like a person of color, and most times I am treated with the privilege of a white person. And I know that's a tough thing to say. I don't always get political and speak about my political views. I will say that if you have a place of privilege, whether it's from your skin color, from financial abundance, from any resource that you have that you can lend to a person of color, especially in the queer community, that's the change that needs to happen. More people with a platform, with a voice, with something to say, with anybody listening, even if it's one person, because that can start a snowball of understanding and change that will benefit all of us. I think that there was a lot of, and there still is, a lot of grabbing of drag culture and kind of taking it and showing it as though it's that person's instead of an entire community and movement. That always bums me out. The mainstreamification of drag is a good thing ultimately, I think. Madonna popularizing voguing, contouring and shading and false lashes. That's drag-inspired makeup that now everybody does. Mainstream acceptance with the white privilege behind it of the community of drag sometimes I think forgets the roots that it came from. Kind of takes me out of a performance, a performer. They're maybe kind of jumping on they're kind of grabbing it and taking it instead of presenting themselves in the arena and joining in. That I don't enjoy about drag or any art form. But I will say that there have been a few cult heroes of drag that were not a person of color that maintained the spirit that was set forth by people of color. Elvira, who, if you don't know who Elvira, Mistress of the Dark is, she's a pioneer in many things, and she has spoke on how she was completely and heavily influenced by drag in her mannerisms, her wit, her over-the-top makeup, and costuming. That's all drag. When she was in the mainstream, her heyday was mid-80s to mid-90s, but she's still going strong. She just put out a book. Cassandra Peterson is her real name. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, she's amazing because she doesn't take any bullshit. She's very rebellious, but she's got heart. She's not a floozy. She's just comfortable with her body and who she is. If that's not a queer message, I don't know what is. Queer icon. I remember watching her movie and wondering why she wasn't more popular. Goth Barbie come to life. Like, what? She will always have a special place in my heart. The other performer is Divine. If you don't know Divine, John Waters, his movies are so not polished that they're amazing. They have something to say and they have a very specific style and a very forceful, jovial, witty way of saying it, and Divine was the ringleader. All of those movies. Divine was in your face, being the villain, but at the same time, the person that played Divine, Glen Milstead, in every interview that I ever saw him, I didn't know him personally, of course, but he just seemed like the sweetest person, kindest, big old softy. Here he was playing one of the nastiest queens that ever was. There are a lot of drag performers that encapsulate that, and those are my favorite ones. So I would love to get into the queens now because I've been dying to talk about it. There are so many queens and so little time. The ones that I have found that I keep going back to are the ones that just happen to be in drag and they're beguiling people and amazing performers. There's a lot of queens and I am still working through them, getting to know them. It's hard to do without going and seeing every one of them live and seeing how they perform. The stage presence, wit, the campiness, the irreverence, rebelliousness of each queen that I find to be the most entertaining. That's why. Is that they have a funness and a spunk to them. Don't take it too seriously. And honesty. They'll call themselves out for their bullshit. One of the things I love about drag performers. They know they fucked up choreography, or they know that the mug is not beat to the best that day. They'll call it out. So like I mentioned before, Willam Belli is the first person, is kind of like the first drag queen that I got to know. Watching the Beat Down and Paint Me Bitch and all of his amazing kind of factions where he goes atop Trash Mountain and opens his packages and has a haul and in full drag, just beguiling. Willam led me to Alaska Thunderfuck. Alaska and Willam are like the real life She-Ra and Catra from my childhood dreams. Huge She-Ra fan. I don't know where She-Ra and Catra went, but this is Frosta and this is Double Trouble. Just to give you an idea. Willam and Alaska are kind of like this duo. They do Race Chasers, the podcast, which is amazing. Even if I don't quite know what they're talking about because I don't follow Drag Race like they do, I want to hear it from their perspective anyway. That's the only perspective I really care about. Willam is like the most glamorous, trashy, but classy aunt that will just show up at a barbecue and bring pot brownies and be like, let's get fucked up and have fun. I will show you guys how to hula hoop. And Willam is that type of friend that will get you into trouble every time, but you don't care because they're so much fun and they have your back and you guys like grow together. That's what happened with Willam. Every episode that I saw, every, behind the scenes, every just him talking to someone else, I feel like I got to know him. And I got to know his heart. What you put out content-wise, I think says a lot about you. Speaking of that, when you look at Alaska and her body of work, so Alaska is kind of like the echo, the like dark, seductive echo to Willam's like bright, shiny, sparky firework. She's seductive and glamorous and commanding. She can just sit and stare into the camera, which she does frequently in the after show. She'll just sit down and and it's art, and it's captivating, and it's art. There's an episode where she eats a burrito. She just sits down, takes off her gear from the night of performing, and eats a burrito. It brought tears to my eyes because that's beautiful to be that vulnerable, but yet that entertaining that you can just eat a burrito on camera and people love it. That's a special performer. My God, Alaska, your music. How are you not top of charts? Your makeup is terrible. My daughters and I absolutely jam to that every day. Since I refound it, I remember hearing it when I watched Eastsiders for the first time. I was like, ooh, that's a jam. And I never realized that I could find it somewhere else on YouTube. Fucking duh. I was living in my car at the time. I'm gonna blame that. Blame sleep deprivation for dropping the ball. But your makeup is terrible. This is my hair. The new one that came out. All of your newer music, which, by the way, people need to stop referring to as real music. There's no such thing as pretend music. All music that's produced is real music. Your style, the way that you shoot your videos, the lighting is just gag worthy. And all the while, you're just statuesque and nonchalant and glamorous and beautiful. I love that your backstory is that you're an alien from the planet Glamtron. Like, yeah, yes. Me too. I mean, I could go on for days about every drag performer and their merits, but Alaska and Willam are the two that I come back to the most because if you smushed them together, they would be like my perfect drag queen. But I like that they're separately my favorite drag queen. But if you smushed them together, they'd be ready to cruise through the galaxy and blow shit up or something. But both of them together, if you don't merge them and just put them in the same room together, they ooze sisterhood, they ooze support, they ooze the yes and rule of improv. So if you don't know, when you're doing improv, you can't say no to something someone says. As you're coming up with things on the fly, you can't say no. If someone is like, oh, it's raining outside, and you go, no, it's not. It crashes it. And I feel like Willam and Alaska really have a great chemistry in that way that they just click, 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 click. If Alaska doesn't want to go to a shady place that Willam has gone, she'll still support Willam if she doesn't support the statement herself. Huge relationship goals, and to watch them perform together when they're in the AAA girls. And I love Courtney Act too. I think she's plucky and she's pan, and she's one of the kind of old school transitioning into a new school type of queen. She's like right on the borderline. I love seeing you guys perform together. Breezy and hilarious, humor, camp, fun, absolutely gorgeous at all times. I love Bob the drag queen. Purse first. Why don't we do everything purse first? I love Gia Gunn of Monet Exchange. I think Trixie Mattel is cool. Katya is cool. And those are just nowadays, the ones that have kind of risen to fame from Drag Race. The formative queens that I will always have a place for in my heart. Lady Bunny. Lady Bunny is amazing and came up right alongside RuPaul. I feel that Lady Bunny embodies the spirit of drag a little bit more than RuPaul. And that's just my own opinion. That's my own personal opinion. I will link a couple interviews that really sum it up for me that Lady Bunny has given. I love that she is top lash, bottom lash. Her take on things is very political and very fiery, and I love that she's not afraid to speak her mind. That honest openness I love, I appreciate, and it's very drag. Coco Peru. Again, I referenced the movie Girls Will Be Girls. If you haven't seen that movie, you get to see why she is such an amazing queen. Her command, her vocal quality. Coco Peru is a great actor that just happens to be in drag. Cannot be where we are now without the queens that came before the new ones. Because of maybe my age or because of my training in theater, whatever, a lot of the new school queens that have risen to fame in the last like 5-10 years, they're more of a package. Look at my snatchy snatcherella, look at my designer labels. It's fun, and that's definitely part of drag. For my money, I want a queen is a performer first and foremost. Call me old-fashioned. There's endless queens, and I'm still learning about them. I'm still deep diving. If I see a new queen that sparks interest, I deep dive into them and thoroughly enjoying this process. I will say about the community itself, not everybody has a family. In order to keep your own sanity, you have to choose yourself or you have to choose your family sometimes. And a lot of people that are on the street that are LGBTQ youth chose themselves. And that's tough to do. And it's a very toxic thing that they even have to do that. The drag community, from what I understand, and I am not a part of this community other than I absolutely love it and I've taken the time to find out about it. I'm a fan. I'm a performer myself. I'm not a drag performer, but these are the things that I've seen, and these are the things that I want moving forward anybody that doesn't know about to know about. So I'm using the platform that I have to speak to it and kind of highlight it. It doesn't mean I'm trying to assert myself. I would never try to assert myself in any narrative that is not my own. As an outside looking in, sometimes you have a way of putting things into words that you can't when you're in the middle of it. So that's more of what I'm, attempting to do. So when you don't have family, you go find it somewhere else. And a lot of times it takes a long time because your walls shoot straight up when you lose the people that you've known the longest, which aren't necessarily your family, but they're what you know. The drag community was founded pretty much on family. You lose the birth family that you had, but you gain a new family that love you for who you truly are and would never throw you into the gutter because they see your worth and because they know what that feels like. That is one of the most heartwarming and wholesome things about drag that I think people forget is how close of a tight-knit sisterhood it really is. Yes, there's fighting and cattiness and bitchy and cuntiness and tea and blah. That's really fun. That's fun to play around with and to be a part of and to hear gossip and blah, 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 blah. But that is like this much of the whole drag community from what I've seen, from what I've experienced. I am truly honored to be able to hear about drag queens and see drag queens and watch them perform and hear their music. Really enjoy myself watching them and feeling like I have found people that I am safe with because of their honesty, because of their rebelliousness, because of the integrity and the passion that they have for that art form. They're not going to leave me high and dry. And if they do, they will apologize for it and really mean it and try to do better next time. Time and time again, very honest, tactful recounting of something that anyone else's hands, it wouldn't have ended the same respectful way. I love that. Each quip, each dip, each drop, each lyric, each look, all of the things that drag performers are so good at comes from a place of rallying and transmuting something that's so devastating into glamour and into power. That is what I truly respond to. The looks and the fun and that's just icing on the cupcake. But the real reason that I love drag so much and it speaks to me, I think, is because of that inner core. So many pioneers and trailblazers that you won't ever see in a studio with really good lighting, communities that still need big change enacted on their behalf. I'm going to do my best to lend whatever type of privilege that I have to those people as they need it. I hope more and more people are inspired to do the same. And I think that's what divides the new school queens and the old school queens, if there is such a thing, which I think there is. There's any type of spectrum of age, there's going to be a dissenting opinion. Things mature and grow and matriculate evolve. Things evolve as they, with each generation, with each new age, things evolve. So it makes perfect sense that bio queens are a thing now. Terms and pronouns are being discussed. It makes sense that politically correctness is a lot more important now. That makes sense. But that doesn't mean that any of the 4 founding queens are wrong. It takes a lot to just jump into a new mode of being, fight the power, throw a brick through a fucking window. People won't listen. You're going to make them listen one way or the other. That type of fire, I think, is really important to keep going. Just like the Olympic torch, you know, now they have to keep it running. Any queer person, but certainly people who are into drag, to continue that spirit in whatever way they can. If a queen that was on the front lines of the AIDS epidemic, or somewhere where queer history really had a moment and had to recover from, please listen to them and absorb all the knowledge you can and understand, try to understand their perspective. And that's true, like I said, with any art form, with a spectrum of age in any group. But I think it's really important. And I learned that as I was doing video after video, hearing story after story. That's the prevailing theme, is that we gotta remember where we came from and keep moving forward. I'm really excited to keep diving in and coming back to the surface with like wonderful gems and new performers that I absolutely am enamored of and wowed by, and still have my comfort queens, as I like to call them, where I can witness their performance and feel like I'm not alone in the world. It's one of the most powerful things that I've taken away from this amazing world that I am so immersed in now, thankfully and gleefully. This has been extremely fun. This has been a blast, and I've turned other people onto it. Thank you, World of Drag, for showing me a good time and breaking my heart and rebuilding it. And my drag queen name would be Lava Shag. My backstory would be that I'm a 70s disco queen. During a rigorous game of Twister, I somehow open a time portal and I'm transported to present day. It's very minimal, but very impactful. Just walking into a room and being like, solid, and walking out, or groovy. And that's it. That's the whole scene. And I also thought it would be cool to like change my last name every time, different iterations of the same name. So like it would be Lava Shag would be like the main one, but then it would be like coming to the stage, Lava Shaggington, or like Lava Shagarini, or Lava Shagalaga Ding Dong. A really fun kind of unexpected element. Would keep things creative too. So I hope you enjoyed my look. I think I did my lashes a little bit better this time. Getting the hang of it. You know, my nails. It's so much fun. I love it. And I had forgotten that part of myself. The whole drag deep dive has really helped me reclaim a lot of things that I lost about myself over the years. Being a mom, you know, going through life where I had to just kind of like give and give and give and not pay attention to myself. I broke myself of that habit a few years ago, and this is putting a Jenga on that and helping me move further into my own empowerment. Very real and deep place that this is all very inspiring. And plus, it's just, I mean, these performers, man, like, they fucking bring it. Hilarious, and they're fun. They wake up at 3 a.m. to be somewhere at 5 a.m. and then work all day and then turn around and do a meet and greet and then keep, I mean, queens work hard. I look forward to meeting my faves someday, hopefully. Maybe I'll do an ode to. You never know. So thank you for being here today. And thank you, all my other drag enthusiasts. Let me know down below, as always, your thoughts. Any queens I should check out. Any performances, legendary performances. I will see you all again very soon. I love you. I love you all. Okay, I just had to give a few more faces. Thanks. See you guys soon.